Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Can you hear me?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Okay, let's start. Okay, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Okay, let me check if we can share the screen. Not yet. Okay, we'll wait for Amrish Prabhu, but we can do the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurulmitam Mena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaivo Naruttamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamisloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Radha Gadari Bhagwan ki Jai Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Srila Gurudev ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hare Hare Bol. So first of all, thank you His Grace Amrish Prabhuji, Her Grace Panpagya Mataji, and His Grace Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhu for training us and giving us opportunity to actually study these verses and present my realization. So we are currently studying Nectar of Instruction text 2. So let's begin with actually reciting the verse and translation, and then we will actually continue our discussion on the purport. Okay, let me share the screen. Okay, right. Share. Just a minute. Can you see the screen? Okay. अत्याहाराः प्रयासश्च प्रजल्पो नियमाग्रहः जनसङ्गश्च लौल्यं च षड्भिर्भक्तिर्विनश्यति अत्याहाराः प्रयासश्च प्रजल्पो नियमाग्रहः जनसङ्गश्च लौल्यं च षड्भिर्भक्तिर्विनश्यति. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. For word synonyms, translation and purport. Once devotional service is spoiled, when he become too entangled in following 6 activities. Number 1, eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Number 2, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Number 3, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Number 4, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulation of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Number 5, associating with worldly minded person who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And number 6, being ready for mundane achievements. Okay, let's actually continue the recitation, the intermediate class. Don't wait for me, just continue one after another.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
His Grace Shital Prabhuji. Thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhuji, Her Grace Punapagya Mataji, and His Grace Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhuji for organizing these classes. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangascha laulyam cha shabdir bhaktir vinashyati. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. First, eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Second, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Third, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Fourth, practicing the scriptural rules and regulation only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulation of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Fifth, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And sixth, being greedy for mundane achievements. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can you hear me, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. First of all, apologies, Prabhuji. I'm not wearing kurta and I'm in a material wear. So I'm actually not at my home. So apologies for that. And thank you, Shital. Thank you, Samresh Prabhuji. And Hare Purna Padma Mataji and His Krishna Kavan Krishna Prabhu for training us. अत्याहार प्रयासश्च प्रजल्पो नियमाग्रहः जनसङ्गश्च लौल्यं च तद्भिर्भक्तिर्विनश्यति. Translation: One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Second, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Third, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Fourth, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Fifth, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And sixth, being greedy for mundane achievements. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Do we have Srishti Mataji? Okay, I think she don't seem to be at her desk. Okay, anybody from actually leaders class would like to recite the verse? We can wait for a couple of seconds.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for giving us the opportunity. Thank you all the devotees for your very nice recitation. Atyahara prayascha prajalpo nimagraha jansangascha lolamscha satvir bhakti vinashrati. Translation: Shri Prabhupada ki jai. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, practicing the spiritual rules and regulation only for the sake of following them, not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulation of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, and being ready for mundane achievements. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Srishti Mataji.
Sorry, Prabhuji, I had to go to my father and mother. They were calling me. Sorry. Thank you, Amish Prabhuji. Thank you, Purna Praja Mataji. Thank you, Krishna Sarpan Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you, Shital Prabhuji and Sanjeev Prabhuji for training us. Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangasya lolam cha षड्भिर्भक्तिर्विनश्यति. अत्याहार प्रयासश्च प्रजल्पो नियमाग्रह जनसङ्गस्य लौल्यं च षड्भिर्भक्तिर्विनश्यति. Translation: One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. First, eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Second, over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Third, talking unnecessary about mundane subject matters. Fourth, practicing the scriptural rules and regulation only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Fifth, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And sixth, being greedy for mundane achievements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. So we have actually so far discussed the atyahar, eating more than necessary and collecting more funds than required. And we also finished the second point, over endeavoring for mundane things. So that is a prayas, right? So before we actually continue, the third one, Prajalp, I think Pradyun Prabhu asked the question towards the end of our last session. Prabhuji, would you like to repeat that question so we can continue from there?
Hare Krishna Guruji. Guruji, the one question about that synonym that I asked for the Vinashati part, it is written as destroyed. And so I was asking that we have studied that bhakti is not really destroyed at any time. So in the word-to-word synonyms so far that written Vinashati as destroyed. So I had question for that.
Okay, so you are saying that how come the devotional service is destroyed, right?
Yes, yes.
So here we are talking about these are the 6 things, these are the impediments in the progress of a devotional service, right? So actually, if you read carefully, so you're right, actually, the devotional service is never actually destroyed, means whatever you have actually earned so far, right? So in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that, if you actually made a progress on this devotional on this devotional path from, say, one point A to point B, that will always remain with you, even after actually you are leaving this body, and it will carry on, with you in a next life as well. And from that point onward, you will continue. Okay, so that is what actually Bhagavad Gita says, right? So here, actually, we're talking about the 6 impediments. And if you actually become prone to any of this impediment, it will actually stop your the progress on this path. So suppose you actually, too much attached to the eating, or actually, you are indulging any of these 6 activities, what is mentioned here, then this will actually distract you from the right path, So your devotional service is actually halted, So it doesn't mean that actually whatever you have done services in the past, so whatever the credit that you earn, devotional credit, that is not going to be destroyed. But certainly, once you actually, indulge in any of these 6 activities, then definitely you will not progress further. Or maybe you may progress, maybe very slow. Yeah, actually, maybe you are in and out, depending on actually what is the situation. So is that clear, Prabhuji? The devotional services destroyed means actually you are not, progressing forward. You are actually being held. So that is actually how I understand it, Prabhuji, because that's why we're talking about the 6 impediments, right? So these can hold you up from actually the further progress on this path. Or if you do not actually overcome these 6 the points mentioned here, if you do not actually get rid of this faults, then you may not progress at all. You will just stop at that point. And whenever you actually rectify these inherent defects, then you may actually continue your again progress from that point onward. Okay, so that's why it is said that whatever progress you have done in this lifetime will always carry with you in a next as well. Okay, so so the Prajalp, I think that's where we stopped last time. Let me check. Okay, right. Who would like to read today? Okay, anyone? Maybe, yeah, Srishti Mataji, you can continue today. Yeah. Okay, we'll give opportunity to everyone one by one. Let me share a screen. Okay. Mataji, yeah, you can continue reading.
Truth, we will simply increase our endeavor to satisfy our artificial needs. A spiritual aspirant should avoid mundane endeavor. Another impediment is prajal, unnecessary talking. When we mix with a few friends, we immediately begin unnecessary talking, sounding just like croaking toads. If we must talk, we should talk about the Krishna consciousness movement. Those outside of the Krishna conscious movement are interested in reading heaps of newspapers, magazines, and novels, solving crossword puzzles, and doing many other nonsensical things. In this fashion, people simply waste their valuable time and energy. In the Western countries, old men, retired from active life, play cards, fish, watch television, and debate about useless socio-politics schemes. All this and other frivolous activities are included in the Prajalpa category. Intelligent persons interested in Krishna consciousness should never take part in such activities.
Okay, so let's discuss this point. So here, so the prajalp, right? So here says prajalp means unnecessary talking, right? So it's quite easy to understand. Actually, when two people meet, they start talking. Okay, and it is said that the world that we currently live, actually so-called the Kali Yuga, the godlessness is so prevailed everywhere that whenever the people talk, it's more likely they will talk about worldly matters. Okay, it's very unlikely that they are actually talking about Krishna or actually devotional service. So yes, devotees will talk about Krishna, but devotees can also discuss materialistic things. So in our program, Hare Krishna WECAN, as you may have noticed, Amrish Prabhu always insists, whenever we meet, we always talk about Krishna or devotional service. No useless talking. No talking about property matters, politics, or anything. Cricket. Normally, this is discouraged. So this is very important because this is the impediment in our devotional service. Because as soon as we talk about materialistic things, our consciousness also become contaminated and we get dragged into the same mood. So normally talk about Krishna is not prajal, right? Because that will help you progress on the path of devotional service. But when we talk about anything other than Krishna, then it will be actually pure waste of time and energy as well. So that is what is actually the meaning of prajalp. So any activity that will not help you progress on the devotional path and that will waste your time or money or your energy is called categorized as a prajalp. So here Srila Prabhupada say when we mix with the new friends or few friends, we immediately begin unnecessary talking, sounding just like a croaking toads. So the example of croaking toads you already discussed in the text one, right? So we'll not go back. So Prabhupada very nicely, explain why the toads are croaking, unnecessary. They're inviting their own death. So we might be doing the same, we are inviting our own death. So we may not see Krishna, we may see him in the form of death if we continue like this. And then Srila Prabhupada is saying that if we must talk, we should talk about Krishna conscious movement. Okay. So the very, very important point, So the worldly talk is actually discouraged on a devotional line. The reason being, actually, the Bhagavad Gita, if you refer back, the seed verses. So let me bring that up because what is being advised. So 10.9, right? So, which is said, Machitta matgata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantasya mamanityam tushanticha ramanticha. Right? So we all know this actually verses, seed verses by heart and translation. So it is said, the thoughts of my pure devotee dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Okay, so here is instruction. Krishna is instructing. What he's saying that actually the devotees, they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another, okay, and conversing about me, that is Krishna. And the word always is very, very important. Is he say that sometimes they talk about? No, always. Okay, so that is actually the quality type of pure devotee. He always talk about Krishna. Okay, the next point, the next verse. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogantam ena mama upayantite. So, tesham satat yuktanam, satat 24/7. Okay, to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So, constantly, who's engaged in devotional service. So, unless you are actually constantly engaged, so when we talk about prajal, when you discuss nonsensical things, then you are not engaged in serving Krishna, right? So you're not serving Krishna, then you're serving Maya. As Srila Prabhupada says that we always have two options as actually living entity, that either we are serving Krishna or we are serving the Maya Devi. There are only two options, but we are serving somebody all the time. That is our actually dharma, to serve. Okay, the people who are forgotten Krishna, they may be always serving Maya, serving their own senses. But actually the devotees, they will always be engaging serving Krishna, talking about Krishna, or instructing others about Krishna. Right? So this is actually the very important point that is actually being conveyed, in Bhagavad Gita by Lord himself. So this is a quality of a pure devotee. So if you have to progress towards becoming a pure devotee, then all these actually qualities we have to inculcate within us. So that's why here is instruction that prajalp has to be actually, we should avoid prajalp in all situations. Because prajalp leads to the wastage of time. Time is wasted. And time, as you know, that actually it is one of the form of a Krishna, the impersonal form of a Krishna. And whenever we engage in prajalp, then actually you're not using that actually, the time element, the Krishna's energy in service of the Krishna. So that's why, as Srila Prabhupada says, that actually no time is a chronic disease of a modern man, right? So why it is a chronic disease? Because everybody do not have the time, right? Everyone is busy doing nonsensical things, one who are not actually engaged in Krishna conscious activities. So it's not like that they have a lot of time. They are also busy, doing all other activities, and they still complain that we are very busy. I don't have time to chant. I don't have time to do the services or do the actually scriptural reading, so on. So you can only find time when you use your time very wisely in the service of the Krishna. Okay, and it is said that actually Amrish Prabhu gave this example, I think in our leader Sangha, where he said that actually, yes, everyone is busy, nobody has a time, So, but when you use the time, which is actually Krishna's energy, in a service of a Krishna, then actually with the blessing of Krishna, we'll have all the time for a devotional service. Okay, so here is an example of Srila Prabhupada that, as you know, the Srila Prabhupada, he traveled around the world 14 times. At the same time, he's translating all the actually Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, 18 cantos, all the small book that he's written. So he was doing all these activities. Actually, he's preaching, he's actually bringing all the devotees, he's constructing temples. So he must be very, very busy, right? Everything is done within 10 years time. But it is said that Srila Prabhupada always has time for all his devotees. if somebody go to meet him, he never said that I don't have time. And even you see the Srila Prabhupada has written all the letters back to the devotees who have actually wrote the letter to him. So he's responding to everyone. Now, for us now, as we see that I'm not very much engaged, but always I do not have time to check my own emails, right? I'm not checking all of them unless they are very, very important. Or we are always running behind. I still have to catch up with my work. I have to catch up with my reading. I have to catch up with my chanting or whatever. So because we are not wisely using the time. So we have to be very, very careful how to actually manage time. So that's why, actually the song that we sing at the end of a program, wasting time is a greatest crime. Wasted time is a wasted mind. Okay, so this is very, very important instruction. So further, okay, let's look at the actually what actually what are the different activities that can be categorized as a prajalp. Okay, going back to nectar of instruction. Okay, those outside of Krishna conscious movement are interested in reading heaps of newspaper, magazines, novels, solving crossword puzzles, and doing many other nonsensical things. So yes, people normally, they are actually very much interested in reading newspaper. So nowadays everything is online now. I don't know, many people read newspaper, but they are reading on their screen. Now there's social media, the Instagram, everything is there. So there are so many distractions to distract us all the time. So people are actually getting addicted to the social media. They cannot live without social media. So all this is just a waste of time. And actually it's wasting your time, energy, money. Even actually it can even destroy somebody's life. Because people become addicted to all those things. So other like even actually in the old age, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that in Western countries, the old men retire from active life, they play cards, they fish, go on fishing, watch television or debate about socio-political schemes. So they talk about politics, they talk about what is happening in the community, they talk about what's happening in the neighbor, who's died, who's born. All these things are going on all the time. So normally, actually, when you retire, then you should actually supposed to devote, all your time for the devotional service. So if you're not trained on this devotional line, then you're bound to actually waste all your time. So another problem is that in old age now, especially in Western countries, now it's in India as well, that normally older people, they get depressed because there is no one they actually available for them to talk or, actually share their things, So loneliness has become actually one of the issue. I'm not sure how actually true it is in India, but definitely in the Western countries, because they're very isolated, they have nothing to do, so they get depressed. But if you're a devotee, you have no time, to waste. You're always engaged in chanting, reading scripture. You are actually maybe preaching. There's so many things. Normally we are actually running behind time. How can I find more time so I can do this, this, this? So this is another advantage of being engaged in service of the Lord. So when we look at the prajalp is also. Let me check. Just a minute. Right. So there can be many types, actually a useless talk, as we discussed, the arguments as well, when we actually argue with one another, So that is also can be a prajal. Gossiping, right? So everyone know what gossiping is, actually talking behind the back, right? So it's very prevalent in today's society. As soon as actually, if you're having some discussion, as soon as somebody leaves the room, they talk about him, right? So talking behind him, criticizing him. So it is said that it's very, very detrimental, if you remember His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj, So there is a melo that Maharaj says that talking behind somebody's back is very bad, is very detrimental to your devotional service. We should not talk actually behind somebody's back. Now, if you really want to talk to them. So it's not actually, quality that devotee should have. So yes, actually, sometime actually, when we talk about other devotees, so you always hear news about, if something has happened, some devotee may have fallen down and all that. So if it is being actually talked in your program, then there is an object, so it's an educational purpose. So we try to educate other actually devotees that this has happened and how we become, we should be very careful that we should not fall prey to such things. So that is not prajal, because the objective is we are actually training devotees, right? But when we talk unnecessary, when there is no need about somebody behind their back, is very detrimental. It will waste your intelligence, waste your time, and you will be actually distracted from your path completely. So we should avoid the actually gossiping. The further it is said, the debates, right, or fault finding. So that is one of the actually defect of a living entity. We are always looking for fault, into others. So we should not look for fault, right? So we have to actually somehow, actually overcome this actually propensity to criticize or finding fault in others. We should focus on ourselves. As Maharaj said, that if somebody actually criticizes us, it is said that if there is a grain of truth in if anyone's criticism, then we should take it as an instruction and we should improve ourselves, right? So our focus should be on ourselves, how to improve our mistakes, how to rectify our mistake rather than finding fault and criticizing others. So even the actually speaking lies or blaspheming devotees. So blaspheming Vaishnava is very, very important. It's one of the offense of the 10 offenses, right? It is said that is first offense actually to blaspheme the devotees who are engaged in propagating the holy name of the Lord, right? So actually blaspheming the pure Vaishnava, or who are actually in the business of actually preaching or rendering service to the Lord. So if you blaspheme, then that will definitely destroy your devotional service. Okay, there is no doubt. So one has to be very, very careful. So the prajalp, or actually, the prajalp, and also as we studied the vachowegam, controlling our tongue, they may be actually quite interrelated. So when we control your tongue, or when we actually carefully avoid the prajalp, then tongue is automatically controlled, right? So our tongue should be engaged in glorifying the Lord. We should always chant the glories of the Lord rather than criticizing other living entities. Okay, so that's how actually you are controlling a tongue and you are avoiding the prajal, and you're not actually wasting your time as well. And you're also following the instruction of the Lord, as it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, that we should always engage in discussing about the Lord. So reading the actually even the novels, newspaper, or solving the crossword puzzles. So that is being now in modern actually life, it is replaced by video games or whatever online games, you see that everywhere when you're traveling, people in the aeroplanes, they're playing games all the time, So they have to kill the time. That's what they say. There are games to just to kill the time, right? I have heard that. It's a good, you can kill your time, mate. You play this game. So in one way we say, I don't have time, Another way we are killing time. So actually you are actually destroying your own life by your hand, killing time rather than actually using it in service of the Lord. So it's very, very important, even for materialistic people, keep the devotional service aside. If you want to be very successful in a materialistic life, I think procrastination is normally not recommended, right? You should use your actually time very wisely in whatever you want to achieve, right? If you want to be big businessman, then you associate with the people of a similar actually business, and actually devote your time in learning the skills. Wasting time is detrimental in material sphere as well and in devotional sphere as well. So it's very, very important, So you can actually compare, That's why it is said that when you actually follow this actually devotional line, so automatically actually you will develop the actually godly qualities, or the qualities that will actually help you excel in your material sphere as well. So that's a side benefit, right? You are very organized, you are not wasting your time, and you are always engaged in glorifying the Lord. So Lord will actually give you the intelligence from within the heart, how to progress. And the materialistic things will be taken care automatically, as you know. So all those things has to be very carefully thought, and we have to be very, very actually particular how we spend our time. So did we leave anything? Even the arguments is one of the very, very important, argument. So I remember the Maharaja's instruction. So even in the argument, when two actually person they're fighting or actually arguing with each other. So actually sometime it is said that Maharaj said the silence is the loudest answer, right? So whenever there is a fight, it's better to keep your mouth shut. And if you cannot do that, you walk away from the situation, okay? Because you are not, you have already lost your composure, and the decisions that you make in the heat of actually the argument, may actually may be very detrimental if you're not really composed person. So actually remaining quiet, maybe sometimes is helpful. I'm not saying all the time, depending on the situation. So you had the discussion with Amrish Babu on many occasions. Sometimes you have to speak up. You have to stand up for yourself as well. But that is actually not out of anger. You should be perfectly composed and you should be aware what you're talking, right? But Maharaj said that in argument it's best to keep your mouth shut. If you cannot do that, you walk away. And when you are all calmed down, and then you can then actually discuss quietly and actually resolve the situation. So argument is one type of prajalp. Even debating, not argument, but debating about useless matters, So you talk about some socio-economic, political issues and all that, So it's not going to help with your devotional service. Okay, let's look at. So another question that may arise that, one of the point Sherpa wrote that if we talk, we should only talk about Krishna, right? But that may not be very practical in all the situation, right? Especially for the grahasthas, okay? That because they have to work, right? They may be doing a business. You actually maybe student, they are going to the universities or whatever, you're doing. That you have to talk to the materialistic people. Then it is what is advised that for grahasthas, minimum what is required, to get things done, that is allowed. You should only talk what is necessary. Do not indulge in actually talking unnecessary thing. That we actually very prone to do. Whenever actually, especially when the friends, they meet together. I can understand, actually, because I have actually I go through the similar situations. So it's very easy to actually go with that flow, and we waste a lot of our time. So one has to be very, very clever, actually you only talk what is necessary and you actually continue, actually whenever there's actually good time, you can leave that conversation and you go ahead with your chanting or whatever you want to do. So yes, actually, practically speaking, it's not always practical to avoid the actually talk with the materialistic people. You have to do what is required, to do your job or keep your business going. But we should be very particular about actually you should plan your things in such a way that actually you should not waste your time. Okay, I think we have covered that point. Let's look at the next one. Okay, let me share the screen.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
One question regarding Prajalpa.
Yes. Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, as it is written that Prajalpa is, mundane activities, reading magazines, or worldly affairs, engaging in worldly affairs. But as Amrish Prabhuji also says that as devotees, we need to be smart. We need to know what is going on around the world. So how can we categorize it that what we are doing is of becoming smart or like knowing about world because it may help in preaching afterward and what we are doing is prajal.
Yes, so good question, Prabhuji. So you are saying that yes, Amrish Bose said that you should actually know what's happening in the world, right? So when we actually want to know what is happening in the world, the intention is very, very important. Why we want to know? Okay, so if you want to know because you want to preach effectively, then actually it may not be a detrimental. So I remember actually, I think Maharaj actually, Amrish Prabhu mentioned, this Maharaj's instruction that some of the sannyasis, one of the sannyasi actually, he has taken the sannyas, but every time actually he go and take the bath, after bath, he has a habit of listening to the radio. So Maharaj said, see, he have taken the sannyas, but is still interested into what is happening in the materialistic world. So that may be detrimental to him, right? So it says that renunciate, should not be interested into worldly affair at all. His business is only to actually talk about Krishna or preach about Krishna, right? But we are actually, first of all, you are grihast, then you actually, if you want to actually preach, and that's for that reason, if you want to actually know what is happening in the world. So I know in order to preach, because you need to know what is happening around you or what is happening around the people you are preaching to, right? So you need to know them properly in order to actually, and then you can actually preach accordingly, right? So that is okay because your intention is to preach. So that may not be detrimental, right? Even though it is said that actually having a television in the house, in a devotee's house, is very, very, it could be an impediment for the progress, right? But it's again, based on the situation, how you use it. If you're actually watching news, try to actually, see what is happening, in the world, and if you want to use it for your actually preaching business or keeping you safe, whatever the reason might be. So intention is very, very important. What is the intention? Okay. So is that clarify your question, Prabhuji?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Can I also ask? Should I also have one question?
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, it is written over there that true religion is allows it only for supplying the bare necessities of material existence. So,
Yes.
if we increase the necessities of life, as Devanshi Mataji also asked this question in the last class, that we try to increase the necessities not for us, but mostly for the people around us, our family members. They also, whatever they like, most of the times it happens that whatever we are earning, they have not like in the past they have struggled for those necessities. It's not the bare necessities, but also for the increase, like means they have not used ACs in their past, but now when we start earning this, they start using ACs and other comforts. So those things are not a true religion, that we are not following the true religion, or because those are not the basic necessities or the bare necessities, they are more than that, because they are luxury comforts. So do I believe that true religion, this is not that this is my question, that we are not following the true religion, that means
So, okay, let's just try to actually understand your question. So, are you saying, Mataji, that the necessities are actually, if you actually working to actually earn some money to buy some comfortable things, right, for your family? So, is that
yes.
all right? Is that a
Yes.
question?
Yeah, that is that the true religion, or we are not following the true religion because it is more than the bare necessities?
Yeah,
Because
first thing is this is the instruction to actually one who's actually want to be Krishna conscious, right? So first think in the point of view of actually how you are leading your life. Okay. So first thing is that you may be actually billionaire, millionaire, you are living in the big palace, but if you're totally detached, from all those things, then is that really going to be impediment to you? You may not be, it will not become, impediment on your path, because if you're totally detached, right? So I think, did we discuss this point? I think, no, I think this point came up in our Bhagavad Gita discussion on Wednesday, that actually in the chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita, it is said that actually sometime devotee, he may be actually having very opulent prasad, because, somebody is offering to him the prasad. So he may have it. Sometime he may not have anything to eat. But in both situations, he's still satisfied. Sometime he may be living in a palatial buildings, or sometime he may be living under the tree. So he may live at both places. Okay. But actually, the important point is that he is not actually attached to any of those places. He's not attached to the palace, and he's not attached to the tree under which he is living. Okay, so that is very, very important. So when there is a time to give up, he can actually walk away without any hesitation. Right? So that is a key point, right? So that is austerity. So devotees, actually pure devotees are like that, Even the Vrishabdev, actually, he was a king, he was a big king, he was actually leading the entire Bharatvarsh. But when actually all his son grow up and they actually ready to take a responsibility, he gave everything back to them, and he actually left everything, so there was no attachment at all, So he was living as a king one day, and next day he was living in a forest. So you understand the point, Mataji? So the instruction is for one who want to actually become Krishna conscious. The instruction is for him how to lead his life, right? So the point now comes that actually if you have to actually buy some things for your family to keep them actually comfortable, then it may be all right, but you should remain detached. You may be living in the same house, even actually having the air conditioning, right? Yeah, you're saying it may be sign up a comfortable life, right? So even in New Zealand, actually, it's very cold here, right? So some people have air conditioning, right? They use the heaters and all that. But again, it's on the it depends on actually on one situation, right? So if you actually choose not to use the actually heater, and if you're actually getting sick because of a cold, is that going to help you? May not, right? Actually, you need a healthy body to actually do the devotional services, right? But if you can actually do it without actually using it, that's good and fine. So now even in actually the modern cars, they all come with air conditioning, right? So you may be driving those cars. So to use it or not to use is up to you. Facility is there, but if we say, Bhagavad Gita says, one has to tolerate the heat and cold. So don't use it if you can, but if you still want to use it, up to you. The level of austerity you want to perform is up to you. Okay. For actually one who want to be very, very serious, then it is said that one should wake up even in the cold. They have to take shower early in the morning, 3 a.m. and then actually be ready for the Mangalarti. So that you can do that, So actually talking about family members, then that's a different actually story, Yes, if they demand it, you have to actually, give it to them as well. Yeah. You cannot force them to actually perform the austerities, forceful actually, anything that is actually forced upon will not work. So if you want to actually progress, you have to do it by your voluntarily. You should actually give up the comfortable things, So, but actually, please note down this question as well into our program, Mataji, actually intermediate actually program. So Amrish Babu also can, actually answer that. Maybe he can elaborate on the this question. Actually, if you still have any doubts, then we can clarify in that last session. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Yes. Okay, now we 4:50, just 10 minutes to the next program. So we'll stop here. And if you still have any questions on so far what we discussed, then please actually remember to post all this question into the intermediate class. So I can actually save all those questions. And at the end, we will have question and answer session, you know, so you have the opportunity to ask question directly to Amrish Babu, but he need to know what are the questions beforehand. You cannot ask the question, you know, whenever you remember. So if you want your question answered, you must actually post it. All right. Okay, so we'll take actually 10 minutes break, and we'll come back to the next section at 6 p.m. Yeah. Jai. Shri Radha Giridhari Bhagwan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hare. Thank you, Amrish Babu. Hare Krishna.